Here's why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is actually a superpower. Now, it's different from a regular superpower that you would hear about in movies or TV shows in the sense that you have to be born with it or get bit by a radioactive spider. It's kind of a superpower in like the Batman sense, in the way that you have to train for a really long time to get it. But let's say, for example, you were able to dedicate 4 years of your life to training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu 4 times a week. At the end of that period, you would have a superhuman advantage on the first day version of you. So, if you took yourself and you cloned you and you put it in a frozen time capsule with everything exactly the same, then you spent 4 years doing 4 days a week of good Brazilian Jiu Jitsu training. At the end of those 4 years, you unfreeze the clone and it's that day one version of you. Not only would you be able to completely dominate any grappling exchanges you have with that person, you would be significantly stronger, you would have more awareness, and basically the superpower is like without any weapons, you would be able to kill them if you wanted, or completely control the situation and make sure they get off with no injuries if you wanted. It's a whole range, and you have that control. One of the coolest things that happens when you get really good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the spider sense. Now, it's obviously not a real spider sense. It's just an increased kinesthetic intelligence. It's an increased awareness of your body. If proprioception, your ability to know where your limbs are without necessarily looking at them. When you go through complicated movement patterns in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like setups, takedowns, triangles, submissions, anything that requires you to do a complicated series of motions against a resisting opponent, you're going to build new pathways for expressing that motion. When I'm walking and I'm about to slip and fall, I'm way less likely to slip and fall, and I'm way more aware of where my balance is because I've done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for so long. If you do takedowns with somebody for, years on end, let's just stick with the 4 4s, the 4 days a week for 4 years, and you constantly have someone really trying as hard as they can to, swipe you off your feet and make you fall down, you're going to be way more aware of your balance. You're going to be much less likely to fall, even in the winter when it's icy out. And I know it's like a little bit lame, but, that's one of the most awesome things is you just don't get hurt if you're aware of yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've completely dumped off a skateboard and, executed a decent break fall, so I was fine. It's really cool to have that increased awareness and just doing different complicated movements, cartwheel passes. Like that's, a very valid technique you can practice and get good at. And as a result, you just have different movement options. Like, you're no longer worried about being upside down or, in any orientation in 3D space. And that's one of the spider senses, that side of the superpowers that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can get. Now, let's talk about the combat aspect of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This is a gift that this is a superpower, but it's sort of also a gift that you can give to other people. Now, you have to learn how to become a good coach, a good teacher, but you can, with your own knowledge and your ability to communicate it to people. Pro tip for being a good coach, you're going to want to program it into them by letting them do the motions themselves rather than just only explain it to them. So the more reps people get, the more high quality reps people get, the better they're going to be at getting the moves down. But let's say you can have this power, this ability to completely dominate somebody. If the playing field, if no one has a weapon, which is something that happens relatively frequently, especially if you're a child, if you're someone who's in, first grade through high school, you don't have weapons on school, but there are bullies, there are people who try to push you around. And if someone comes and shoves you, and you're used to being shoved around because it's jiu-jitsu class, and instead of being scared and having it being an issue, you're in the moment. You're not panicking, you're not freaking out. It's like, okay, this happens every single day at practice. I've been to competitions before. The 16-year-old who's been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 4 days a week for 4 years can probably strangle most of his teachers in class, which is a weird dynamic to have. It's like you have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom, but like if society was stripped away and it became like a fisticuffs battle, the 16-year-old blue belt, dude, I would put my money on him over Mr. whoever in the math class any day of the week. Sort of with great power comes great responsibility. It's one of the reasons why people emphasize having good character when it comes to being able to represent high ranks in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And personally, I believe if you're going to give someone this superpower, this gift, this ability to be more aware of your surroundings, this ability to inflict great physical damage on people, but also treat them with compassionate control and not inflict that damage if you don't have to. To give them that level of responsibility, you shouldn't give it to just anybody. Obviously there's a filter in the sense that you have to be able to work for it for years and years and years, and most people aren't willing to put in that work. And the people who are willing to put in that work are usually, of above average character, or through the process of putting in that work, they get a better character. But you need to be a relatively good person in order for me to be like, okay, I want to give you, this magical, it's not magical, it's just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but this gift that would allow you to do great damage to people, or to protect yourself in a situation where you need it, or just have more confidence. You become a different person, a more confident person. Just being physically stronger and able to move things that you weren't able to move before. It'll just happen through the process of going to class. I don't have any of my grippers, but my hand strength since doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is significantly increased. The last thing I gotta say is, if you're able to train that long, you're going to be able to have some experiences that money physically you can't pay for with money, because it's not possible. Whether that's succeeding in a high-level competition match and feeling the praise from people around you, and your own pride for having put in that hard work and seeing the results of your accomplishments. Or if you're in a gauntlet on your birthday and you have people coming after you again and again and again and again, and you're able to not only survive but thrive under those conditions and tap other people out, that's a real special experience. And that's not an experience you can pay for, because you have to earn it. There's no other way to do it. And it's a very unique and humbling feeling, because every single moment of grace is preceded by many, many, many hours of struggle, of fumbling to build the correct neural pathways, of incorrect reps, of thinking about it, of doing it again, of trying and failing to build up a jiu-jitsu game. And it's a really cool experience to go through that process. It's very humbling. You can teach it to other people, and it makes you a different person. So that's why I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a superpower. If you agree with me, drop it in the comments. If you disagree with me, also drop it in the comments. Either supports the YouTube channel, same with liking, disliking, subscribing, drinking kombucha. That's good for your tummy.